Fancy serving up a dish of sweet potato pie? Hold your horses, because you'll want to make sure you're not making these mistakes first. With their rough skins and firm textures, it's easy to forget that sweet potatoes go bad eventually, which means if you bring some home, you need to stash them someplace that allows you to preserve them. If your first thought was the fridge, you may want to rethink that plan. The fridge turns the center of your sweet potatoes into little more than edible white rocks, and the flavor tends to go quickly too. It is possible to eat sweet potatoes after they've been kept in the fridge, but it's unlikely you'll enjoy them much. In fact, the frigid cold of the refrigerator changes sweet potatoes on a cellular level, much like gamma radiation changed Bruce Banner into the Hulk.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
He ain't never going back to what he was before, and neither are your sweet potatoes. So what's a sweet potato lover to do? Being a root vegetable, sweet potatoes like to sleep in cool, dark places. Not cold as cool as the fridge, but cool nonetheless. Aim for 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit here. In light of that, putting your sweet potatoes in a basket on the floor in the pantry will keep them in good condition for a month or two until you're ready to cook. Fortunately, you'll never have to find out that your sweet potatoes have gone bad by biting into them. This is because bad sweet potatoes leave plenty of visual, olfactory, and tactile clues that should prevent you from tainting your taste buds. Bad sweet potatoes look and feel a bit wrinkled and mushy, and they're likely to be moldy. Dark spots of black, gray, and even green may mar the skin and the interior. They may have also begun to sprout eyes. If the sprouts are isolated to one small spot that you can cut off and the rest of the sweet potato seems good, the sweet potato is still edible. But if it's also mushy and has mold spots, toss it. Particularly when you're out shopping, the appearance of the sweet potatoes you buy should be evenly colored and firm-looking. The smell of a sweet potato also indicates its freshness. By the time it goes really bad, you won't need to touch it or even see it. Your nose will figure out the problem before your eyes do.
Oh, it's in my mouth.
Sweet potato skins pack a power punch when it comes to nutrients. By eating the skin, you've given yourself a big dose of vitamin A as well as C and D, manganese, potassium, and fiber. However, if you're planning on chowing down on the sweet potato skin, it should be as clean as a root vegetable skin can be. To ensure that you'll get all the dirt and mud off the sweet potato skin, wash the sweet potato under a stream of running water. The Centers for Disease Control advises against using dish soap or detergent to remove germs and grime from sweet potato skins, perhaps for obvious reasons. If you feel that washing your fruits and veggies in something besides water is a must, try baking soda or vinegar instead. To ensure extra cleanliness, you can use a veggie brush or a toothbrush to get the grime out of the nooks and crannies on the skin. Obviously, there's no hard and fast rule forcing you to cut your sweet potatoes in a certain way. That said, there is an argument for learning how to do it properly. Once you have mastered cutting or chopping your sweet potatoes, you'll know how to cook them more thoroughly and efficiently. For example, dicing your sweet potatoes into smaller bits makes them easier to roast, as it's easier for the oven's heat to penetrate a half-inch by half-inch cube than a whole sweet potato. Some of the most common ways to slice sweet potatoes include wedges, diced, rounds, or fries. After you wash and prep the potatoes, use a very sharp chef's knife to cut off the ends of the sweet potato. If you're not planning on eating the skins, you'll want to peel the sweet potatoes here too. Take care when you're slicing the potatoes, keeping them steady with your non-cutting hand, and create slices that are as uniformly sized as possible. Aside from looking better, this will allow them to cook more evenly. Recipes such as sweet potato pie usually call for softened sweet potatoes. To satisfy this requirement, many home gourmands get a pot boiling in order to prepare the potatoes. While this isn't technically wrong for such recipes, the taste will be much improved if the sweet taters get a pass in the oven instead. This is one of those instances where food chemistry plays a role in the flavor of your recipes. The sugars inside the sweet potato are liberated by the enzyme amylase and turned into caramelized goodness in the oven. This jacks up the sweet factor even if you don't add any sugar.
Sweet potato pie.
There is a caveat to all this, of course. The enzyme must get the slow-release treatment to start this chain reaction, and roasting or baking the sweet potatoes in the oven does this in a way that boiling your sweet potatoes won't. Incidentally, this is also the key to ensuring that your sweet potato dishes don't get too sweet. Naturally, then, recipes that call for more sweetness, such as sweet potato pie, do much better if the sweet potatoes are baked or roasted. However, for a dish that needs to be both sweet and savory, a casserole, for example, boiling may be a better option. This process slows down the release of the sugars inside the sweet spuds, thus toning down the overall sweetness of the potatoes. Baking sweet potatoes shouldn't be difficult, right? Well, yes and no. If you've ever compared the density of a sweet potato to that of a regular potato, you'll have noticed right away that sweet potatoes have a density that your garden variety spud doesn't. The sweet potato requires plenty of time in the oven at about 375 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure that you don't break a tooth come dinner time. How long it takes to bake your sweet potato varies depending on the size of the potato. It could be 30 minutes to just over an hour in the oven before it's done. So what's the best way to tell if it's done? If it passes the fork test, you're golden. That is, if you can stick a fork into the potato and it slides in easily and the interior feels mushy, it's ready to eat. And yes, some home chefs like to pierce the skin of the sweet potato with a fork to ensure that it doesn't blow apart in the oven.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
However, there's one good reason why you shouldn't pierce holes in your sweet potato before baking. All the sweet sugars that baking brings forth get pulverized when the steam escapes the sweet potato through the holes, making it less sweet in the aftermath. For the food snob, the microwave is a thing of contempt. In more desperate circumstances, however, it's the speediest route to dinner when you're 2 hours into the hangries. But microwaves don't deserve the bad rap they sometimes get. Case in point, the microwaved sweet potato. Many people shy away from cooking their sweet potato in the microwave because they believe that it destroys the spuds and nutrients. This fear is valid too. That would certainly be a lot of nutrients to lose, given that sweet potatoes are a source of vitamin A, vitamin B6, folate, and vitamin C, as well as being a fat-free source of fiber. As it turns out, however, microwaving your sweet potato preserves these nutrients in the same way that baking the sweet spud would. Boiling or steaming the same spud means a 20 to 30% loss of vital nutrients. Furthermore, the microwave's speed of cooking ensures that it keeps even more of its nutrients, more than if the same item were to be cooked slowly, in fact. Microwaved sweet potatoes can take between 5 and 15 minutes to cook, though it can be difficult to determine the exact time due to the varying sizes of the potatoes. To cook them in the microwave, scrub them and prepare them as you would a baked sweet potato. Put in the microwave to cook, they'll be done when a fork goes through them with ease. With sweet potatoes being so naturally sweet, it's tempting to think that they're only good in sweet dishes, such as pie.
How's the pie?
So good.
This isn't the case, however. In the world of taste, few flavors bring out the savoriness of meats or roasted vegetables quite like sweetness. In traditionally spicy recipes, such as chili, for example, sugar added to the meat and stewed tomatoes balances out the dish's acids. But for those looking for more off-the-wall ingredients to add to their favorite chili recipes, sweet potatoes are an even better, more interesting choice. This is because they possess the sugar content to cut the tomato's acidic nature, but are more flavorful, better for you, and bulkier to boot. But this isn't the only place where sweet potatoes can boost a savory dish. Mashed sweet potatoes, spruced up with olive oil, garlic, white pepper, and Parmesan, give your average mashed potatoes recipe a run for their money. Sweet potatoes also make popular additions to savory Asian soups, morning hash, or as a side to steak. And if you want to rustle up a memorable potato bar, try including some baked sweet potatoes in the mix. Anything that goes on a regular baked potato will work wonders on a sweet potato. Many people have attempted that time-honored currency exchange of yams for sweet potatoes. However, like most currency exchanges, there really isn't a one-to-one equivalent, despite what people think, which means that home chefs get shortchanged if they try to use yams in recipes that call for sweet potatoes. They each belong to two different families in the vegetable kingdom, with yams being from the lily family and sweet potatoes being kin of the morning glory. To the untrained eye, the two sort of look alike in the same way that one glance at sweet potatoes and regular potatoes tells you that they're both root vegetables, even if they're not exactly alike. Interestingly, these similarities, as well as decades of mislabeling, can be held responsible for some people believing that raw sweet potatoes are toxic. They aren't, but yams can be. Aside from possibly having the ability to poison you in the right conditions, yams have neither the flavor profile nor the texture of sweet potatoes. Compared to the strong sweet flavor of the sweet potato, eating a yam is a lot like eating a mouthful of starch with zero flavor, unless you add copious amounts of butter, oil, and seasonings. You're also more likely to find sweet potatoes than yams in U.S. grocery stores. As for those candied yams you eat every Thanksgiving, they're usually sweet potatoes that wear the wrong label. A perfect example of this attempted foodie exchange playing out in real time. Canned goods play a huge role in the setup of your emergency food pantry. While you're bound to keep the usual suspects, such as canned corn, tuna, okra, and black beans, you might benefit from including canned sweet potatoes too. Granted, many people keep fresh sweet potatoes in their pantry. Although those last a long time, the months that they might last don't compare to the years endured by canned sweet potatoes. Canned sweet potatoes often work perfectly well as substitutes for recipes that call for fresh sweet potatoes. Sweet potato pie, sweet potato casserole, and sweet potato hash count among the ways you can use them. As for the amounts you'll need to keep, a good rule of thumb for emergencies is to keep enough canned goods of each type in your pantry so that you have enough to provide you with 2.5 cups of vegetables a day.